On today's Hashi, I'm discussing yesterday's PCE data, how it impacts the way the Fed is looking at inflation, as well as pending home sales for March. We've got a weekly unemployment report as well. Today is Wednesday, April 30th, 2025. I am Byron Lazine. It's not Wednesday, it's Thursday, by the way, May 1st. Anyways, I'm Byron Lazine, and the Hashi starts now. All right, here we go. Live from Naples, Florida. Let me know in the live chat which market you are tuning in from today, wherever you may be. Hey, thank you, Dawn. I think that is Dawn from McNary Realty Group on takeaways from the systems that we were talking about yesterday, the operating systems inside of BAMX. Obviously, on the public webinar yesterday, Sharon and Undum basically broke Zoom. So that was unbelievable. By the way, I see Phoebe in here saying happy, happy to spend my birthday. So happy birthday, Phoebe. By the way, Haley, I saw some stuff on Instagram. Was yesterday your birthday, Haley?
Yes.
Did we talk about that in the BAM meeting in the all hands? Did I even know that?
We did, but you weren't reading it.
I was ignoring the birthday.
I think you missed
it. So live on the hot sheet, Haley, happy birthday to you yesterday. Phoebe, it looks like happy birthday to you today. So a couple birthdays there going on. Happy birthday to everybody. You know what I said? I'm in an old text group. It's been going on for years. It's me, it's Lisa Chinati, Josh Rubin, Joe Biggs. It's our old East Coast mastermind. And somebody was wishing somebody a birthday. And so then you get a happy birthday, in these text groups, everybody's going, happy birthday, happy birthday. And so, you know what I did? I texted in there. I said, you know what? Happy birthday to all of you guys, whether your birthday has passed this year or it's upcoming. I'm done with the happy birthdays for the year. I'm getting it out of the way. I'm the worst at tracking birthdays, but glad I caught Haley's because she's an important part of the show. All right. Important part of what the Fed's going to do is what's going on with inflation. And the PCE report came out yesterday. This is the Fed's favorite target. There's some mixed signals that I'm seeing, by the way, on how people are breaking down this PCE inflation report that came out yesterday. Barron's says, hey, it's mostly in line with expectations. This PCE inflation report. By the way, the markets, that's what I care about. They acted favorably. The kind of sell-off cooled off yesterday. Once this PCE inflation report came out, here we got Morningstar saying it's stronger than expected. So PCE index up 2.3%. For the most part, for what I could find digging around on this thing is like, the market felt like this was in line with most of their it wasn't totally out of whack. The sell-off that was going on yesterday in the markets cooled off after this happened. The PCE report came out. So this report wasn't a scare, so to speak, to Wall Street. So there you go. Bureau of Economic Analysis put the data out as they do. It's the Fed's favorite measure. Personal income increased 116.8 billion. That was a 0.5% monthly rate. Okay, so 0.5% on the monthly rate on personal income. And then the expenditures went up. So personal consumption expenditures, which is this PCE, went up 0.7%. So outpaced personal income. It's 134.5 billion. That was broken up. It's really broken up into two categories. When you take a look at these expenditures, it's services and it's goods. So 54.5 billion on goods, 79.9 billion on services. Okay, so we're a consumption nation. It's services, it's goods. That's the breakdown there. Disposable personal income increased 0.5%. That just in line with personal income, and so I don't know. There you go. There's the overall numbers. I'm not going to read too much into this because the market didn't. So the market didn't react, one way or another. I'm more, going to take a look at this unemployment report here today before we sign off. But market didn't have a big reaction. CME Group doesn't have a big reaction. We're 6 days away from the Fed meeting. CME Group's down maybe a little bit more off of what's going on with jobs than they were. They were 95+% yesterday. They're down to 90%. Or still up to 90% chance that the Fed does nothing next week in terms of the rate change. They're going to hold firm. That's the expectation. That's Wall Street's expectation. CME Group, as you get closer to these meetings, again, we're 6 days away. They get even, and I just refreshed it. They're at a 95.6, so it's actually moved back up. That they're not going to do anything. So even the job number, I'll tell you why the job number, while the headline might be, there's going to be pictures. I see CNBC has this picture up. There's going to be pictures of people standing in line, on the unemployment line. And it's going to be one of those things that maybe, some of your customers and consumers half paying. Oh my gosh, unemployment's going up. Is it really though? We'll get to that. I've got some data we can break down. Let's break down first pending home sales data from NAR just released yesterday. Pending home sales move up. Interesting. I think we saw this coming. We're looking at the Altos research, the pending sales, and we're like, hey, this is looking in line with last spring at worst. And at best, it's looking like we're getting year-over-year improvement on purchase applications. It's not great. We're at near all-time lows on this stuff, but it's moving in the right direction. We get it. Existing home sales still very low, but was showing signs of improvement, steadying the ship. And when we go nationally and take a look at what this number looks like, it's up 6.1% month over month. So this is the March report. We're up 6.1%. That's a positive jump. The index at 76.5. We're looking for 100. That coincides with higher level of activity relative to 2001, a long time ago. We got more home buyer age people than 2001. We got more population than 2001. So we got a long way to go to get back to, activity levels that you would expect us to be at in a thriving or fluid housing market. The South with the biggest jump, interestingly enough, for all the inventory talk, Florida, Texas, Louisiana, you've got the South here. And the South in the NAR regions, it's made up of a lot. You've got the DC region in there. You've got the Carolinas. You got a lot of different, there's a lot of different parts of what they're considering the South. But for the Southeast and the Sun Belt getting kind of beat up on inventory, yeah, there's more inventory. If you're a listing agent, maybe harder to start having those weekly conversations about DOM, but there's deals to be done. There's more deals in your region happening than anywhere else. 9.8% pop month over month when you go February to March in the South and the Southeast corridor on under contracts. They're at an index of 94.1. That's the healthiest at any point in the country, anywhere else in the country. So to my South, Sun Belt, Southeast friends, agents, you've got it better than anybody else in terms of activity levels. 94.1 on the index. I get it. Florida's got a population of 23 or 24 million, and it feels like they got 4 million agents. I get it. You go to a happy hour, everybody 4 to 6 sitting at the bar has a license or had one or has one that's expiring. Totally understand the competition and all of that, but competition's fierce in the Northeast too. It's fierce in California. I mean, it's fierce everywhere. So you got more activity levels. 94.1 in the South. We're crying about inventory, but yeah, it's harder to list. It's not harder to do deals than it is in the other 4 regions. Deals are happening. 94.1 for the South. Way to go. 9.8% increase month over month. Where you're seeing the next 2 increases, it's the Midwest. That's a 77.7 index. That's in line with national numbers. Midwest, very reflective of what's going on nationally. 4.9% increase month over month. The West, had a 4.8% increase month over month, but 58.6 on the index. They're lagging on the index in terms of transactions. In terms of having a fluid market, they're behind the four regions. Northeast is down in the basement with them. You got basements in the Northeast. So it makes sense, I guess, for the Northeast to be there. You don't have a lot of basements in the South, but you got them in the Northeast. They're down there in the West, kind of riding out the base. 62.5 index, not a real fluid market. Inventory holding that market back, of course. 0.5% down month over month. To be fair, transactions would be higher in the Northeast if there was inventory. You know, we looked at that Realtor.com affordability and home building score. Northeast got crushed in it. F's across the board. Okay. Northeast folks might think that they've got good public education, but in terms of home building and affordability, Realtor.com gave almost every state in the Northeast an F. They don't build, it's holding back inventory. And that's primarily the reason that's holding the Northeast back. Here's the commentary from Lawrence Yun. Best job in the business, of course. Couple of comments a month. $800,000-$900,000 $1 million salary each and every year. Really no competition for the job. Had the job for years and years. Lawrence says, chief economist NAR, consumers should note that the spring home buying season typically brings in a surge of home buyers and sellers compared with the winter months. Obvious. In March, signed contracts surged 34.1% from February based on non-seasonally adjusted raw data, reflecting a pattern consistent with previous years. So when we look at that 6+%, that's a seasonally adjusted. This is just raw data. Yeah, you're going to have more contracts moving in March. We see the trend line when we look at it on Mondays with Altos in real time. I like Altos because we're really kind of dealing with more real time. It's May 1st. We're talking about March here. In addition, inventory levels rose by 8.1% in March from the prior month, indicating a more dynamic housing market environment. Still, a little bit more dynamic than all-time lows, but still long way to go to get back to some markets. And I see Clark in here saying, hey, Metro Atlanta, Atlanta GA, it's edging up to a more corrected market, neutral, buyer, seller, neutral is, I think, the direction, Clark, you're talking about there. But we got a long way to go to get appropriate inventory, appropriate sale levels, appropriate pending home sale levels in a neutral market across the country. Long way to go for that. All right. Here's the big news of the day economically. It's this unemployment news. Okay. So we got a release today, Department of Labor, as we do at this time every week, Thursday morning, we review this stuff. We review this. Why? Because there's a dual mandate for the Fed. Number one, inflation down to their target of 2%. Okay. Number two, maximize employment while doing it. So Logan Motoshami over at Housing Wire, he's told us on the Knowledge Brokers podcast, the one thing that's going to get the Fed to move is going to be a break in the labor market. Well, the Fed, Jerome Powell gets up on his pressers every month and says, we have a strong labor market. We saw signs of some of that earlier this week. Yesterday, when we were looking at, job openings haven't accelerated up. There's a comfortable position there. Employment did move down. It was one of those things that you look at and you say, wonder what unemployment's going to look like. Well, you're going to see headlines like this. Okay. Weekly jobless claims surge more than expected. Yeah, it was expected to be 225,000. It comes in at 241,000. The headlines are going to be interesting because look at this. Look at this photo. If this is all your consumer sees, oh my gosh, unemployment. Look at how many people are in line. They're trying to figure out if they're going to get paid. Oh my gosh, what's going on? The world is falling apart. This must be because of tariffs, more economic uncertainty. Guess what? It's 1 week on unemployment. It didn't even break 250,000. 250,000 is where the Fed is going to start to actually take a look at this and say, oh, do we have a consistent pattern of 250,000? It was 241,000 for 1 week. It's an increase of 18,000 from the previous week's revised level. But guess what? The 4-week moving average is still 226,000. Like, we're not seeing anything. It's a data point. We're not seeing anything that is out of the ordinary when we look at the 4-week average. Okay, the 4-week average has been hovering around 220, 225 for quite some time now. This unemployment's at a relative, all things considered, near all-time low number. Okay, so 1 week of a pop of 18,000 isn't going to be something, I promise you, that next week gets the Fed to make a huge move unless they know something else that we don't. Unless they see some other trends that we're not getting the data for in the future. I mean, look at the initial jobless claims. We've had pops like this. This isn't anything new, this weekly pop of 240,000. We saw it back in February. We saw it in November. We saw it at the end of the year. We saw it in the end of the summer last year. We've seen bigger pops over 250,000. We saw back-to-back weeks here of pop. You know, if we get a pop next week and the week after on initial jobless claims, now we're going to start to see a trend. But if it comes back down to the 4-week average, this is going to be a non-story. Here's your 4-week average. It's kind of in line with where it's been. Okay, so we're not seeing, you start seeing the 4-week average get back to where it was last summer. Well, now you have a chance of getting up over 250,000 on the 4-week average. Now you have a conversation starter like we had back then. But you're not anywhere close right now. This is the one I think that people will talk about a little bit. Continuing jobless claims. Okay, so, what are you going to see on continuing jobless claims? We've got 7 million job openings. So you can argue that there's opportunities, but continuing jobless claims, how many people are staying on unemployment? That's an elevated number. So maybe that's the one data point to pay attention to the most. I don't know if you could pop Fred's question back up there. I'm seeing that in the chat, but I didn't see the question. How many were government job losses? Good question, Fred. Let's see if we've got that. And that's what we talked about with the GDP. If you were here for the GDP conversation, and this initial claims isn't going to show us this from this report. Maybe we get it on the revised report. We're not getting it here. But when we talked about the GDP miss this week, we talked about everything I said all of last year. You pull government jobs out, GDP is not growing. And so that's government hiring. That's employment. What Fred's saying is, okay, how is unemployment now? We haven't seen unemployment rise with all of the Doge going out and going after jobs or whatever the case may be. We haven't seen it. It's been localized, maybe DC, something like that. But we haven't seen it hit the national average. And we've seen economists, Lance Lambert said this on Knowledge Brokers podcast, like government job loss it's not as big of a number on the unemployment pie. And so you might not see that really have an impact, but maybe this 18,000 pop, to your point here, Fred, is something that I'll try to get data on that. Here's where it was the highest. So we can look at the highest uninsured employment rates. It was Jersey, it was California, it was Rhode Island, it was Washington, Illinois, Mass, Minnesota, DC on the list. So maybe an influence there. Okay. The largest initial claims. Well, let's look at initial claims, see if DC's back on initial claims, because that's what was the big pop this week. You've got Jersey, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Maryland, Arizona. And so didn't make the top 5 on initial for DC. So interesting. I'm not reading too much into this. It doesn't, to me, doesn't appear that the market is reading too much into it. Dow's up, S&P's up, NASDAQ's all up today. So maybe a correction, maybe a little bit of a slight buyback into the market. Market saying, hey, PCE, the inflation report yesterday, jobs today, not anything that is creating some type of sell-off. In fact, the markets are up. One thing I like, hey, if jobs do get a little bit weaker with today's news, you would expect the 10-year to move down. We're seeing that today, a slight move down, 4.143. If we look in the last month now, the last 30 days, we're starting to trend back towards that 4 number, which is our 30-day low. Love to see it. Love to get this 30-year fix heading into the weekend back down. Maybe we get back down under 6 3/4 heading into the weekend. We went flat yesterday at 6.81 on the 30-year fix. So that's where we're at heading into tomorrow on Friday. And we'll just see where the week closes out. That is the closeout for the hot sheet here this week. We do the show every single Monday through Thursday when the markets are open. We come live 9:30 on the East Coast when the stock market opens. Talk about what's going on economically, how that's impacting the housing markets. Your only 24-hour Monday through Thursday look back on the housing market from a real estate professional standpoint that exists on the internet. The best way to support this show, the free and simple way to support it, is to hit the subscribe button for the BAM YouTube channel right down below. Hit the notification bell so you're notified when we go live. Share the show with somebody who can benefit from it. If you know somebody in your office, a friend that you've met at a con, hey, you could benefit from this 24-hour look back. The replay lives on YouTube. The replay gets posted on Spotify and Apple. Share it with a friend. BAMX members, share that with a friend. You've got an affiliate code to share with BAMX. Everything that we talk about here on every single show is uploaded inside of BAMX. Okay. So every show we upload the inside of the hot sheet classroom. Fridays, we do the content drop right here. Tomorrow's is going to be unbelievable. I've already saw a sneak peek of it. But every show, every single day, we do a drop here for all of today's slides. This slide here on pending is in there. All of our notes. It's all available for you right inside of your hot sheet. But if you're a BAMX member, you have an affiliate code inside of your BAMX. Share it with somebody. Somebody could benefit from BAMX. School.com/BAMX. All right, guys. Have a great day. We'll see you. Walkthrough will be up later on today, the walkthrough pod. I'll see you on the Knowledge Brokers pod tomorrow, separate channel. Till then, of course, toodaloo.